Okay, so if you're watching this video, you probably struggle to find time to do everything that you want to as a student. And I've been there too. I used to be studying 80 hours a week, trying to balance a social life, and struggling to even find time to exercise. But now I've been a straight A+ student for the last 3.5 years of my studies, while still training hard at the gym and while still managing my social life. The one reason why I've been able to succeed in all these big aspects of my life is because of an idea called essentialism. Most students are too overwhelmed by all the things that they're trying to manage, but essentialism will fix that. And that's what we're talking about in this video. Okay, so this circle right here is why you feel like you don't have enough time for everything. As you can see, this circle represents your energy. And you can see that your energy is being dispersed to school, relationships, maybe you watch content, YouTube, TV, something like this, fitness, video games, hobbies, everything else, okay? And so this is your total energy. And it's being spread out over many things. And this is where the issue comes in. Suppose that this circle here represents satisfaction. And in order to feel good about how you're spending your time and feel like you have enough time, you need to have the important aspects of your life reaching the line of satisfaction. So that would look like this. But here's the issue. Your energy is finite. And so when it's being used on social media and your hobbies and your school and your relationships and your content that you consume, then there's not much left to spend on your fitness, okay? Or if you're using a bunch on fitness and relationships and consuming content and video games, then there's not much left to use on school, okay? And so this is where that feeling that you don't have enough time comes from, because you have all these aspects of your life, and because your time is finite, because your energy is finite, when you try to spread your energy out over all of them, none of them are able to reach satisfaction. And that's where that dissatisfaction comes from. So in order for us to feel like we have enough time for everything, we need to be reaching satisfaction in the most important aspects of our life, okay? But now, where does that energy come from? Because, like I said, we have finite energy and it looks to be all spent. But here's the thing. We can look for things that aren't essential and move the energy to things that are essential. So let's take social media, for example. What if we significantly reduce the amount of energy going to social media? And we cross that out. Well, hey, that was about this much energy. And we could bump that to school, okay? And so we can keep applying this. What if we take whatever this was and we X this out and we apply that to school? And look, all of a sudden, our school is at a level of satisfaction. And so we can cross other things out. Let's take video games and content, and let's extend that into fitness. And look, all of a sudden, fitness is now at a level of satisfaction. And let's cross out this, and I don't know, maybe we have another arrow here, and this gets crossed out, and all of a sudden, look, now our relationships are also at a level of satisfaction. And now we have these big three important aspects of our life. You know, your school, which is equivalently your work, your relationships, your fitness. You have all these aspects reaching that level of satisfaction. And all of a sudden, now you have the time and energy to do things because you've chosen to cross out things that are less essential for the things that are more important to you. Because those things that were more important to you were the things that you wanted the time to spend on anyways. You never thought, hey, I'm so pressed for time. I really wish I had more time to spend scrolling on Instagram. You never thought that. You never did, okay? But you probably did think, hey, I'm so pressed for time. I wish I had some time to go to the gym, or I wish I had time to spend with my friends, or I wish I had a little bit more time to spend studying for that exam. And so those things where it's, I wish I had more time to spend on X, those are probably the aspects of your life in reaching that satisfaction line is most important. And those are the ones that you should be focusing on. And so looking for what to cut out might be easy or it might not. For example, in this circle, it's pretty easy. You know that video games, consuming content, social media, this stuff can be easily cut out to make room for other things. But maybe it's not that easy. Maybe you're further ahead and you've already cut those things out. And now maybe it's things that you like to do that you actually need to cut out. Maybe you need to cut out or limit a hobby that you have. For example, I was trying to learn guitar in the summer and then school came and yeah, I had to cut out the hobby. But I'm not saying that you should cut out all your hobbies. I think hobbies are good. They can make you a more interesting person and they might be something that brings you some fulfillment and some enjoyment. But in this situation for me, it was school, relationships, and fitness that was giving me the highest level of fulfillment and the highest level of enjoyment. And so that's where I was putting my effort. Maybe for you, the hobby is something that needs to reach this circle here in order for you to be satisfied with your time and for you to feel like you've had enough time. But regardless of if it's your hobbies or your fitness, your relationships, whatever it is, your energy is finite. And it's only when you cut out the non-essential things that you can reach any level of satisfaction or success in what matters to you. And you can see that here. If we look at how the energy is distributed for someone who would be doing well and feeling good about how their time is spent, it's much more narrow. We don't have all the extra arrows that we had for the other student or the other person. Instead, we have high levels of effort and high levels of energy in the few things that matter most to this student, okay? And so we have school, relationships, and fitness, where the energy is high. And you see, we haven't completely cut out the other things. We still have some hobbies, you still have some content, you still have a little bit of social media, but there's been a significant reduction in how much energy went to them. Before we had these larger arrows, and now they have definitely shrunk. And they've shrunk in order to enable the arrows that matter to grow. And so this is the solution. This is how you would feel like you actually have enough time for the things that matter to you, because you're putting all the energy and time into the things that matter for you. Now, here's the thing. Making the transition from here to here isn't that simple, okay? And that's because for most people, they've been so used to this. People think that they can do everything, and I've been there. A few years ago, I was trying to balance school and gym and extracurriculars and relationship, because in my mind, I was trying to do all these things so that I would be spending my time meaningfully and have a meaningful experience. But you can see that here, trying to do everything does not mean that your time was spent meaningfully. This satisfaction ring could also be just like how meaningful your time was spent. So you can see that more does not equal meaningful. And in this case, you can see that it's actually less that is more meaningful. So you really need to take a look at where all of your energy is going, right? And here we have a list of school, relationships, content, fitness, video games, hobbies, social media, okay? But you need to look at your own list, and you need to see, hey, where is my time going? What is essential and what isn't essential? So you can see how by cutting things out, you can move from being so stretched thin, stressed, and not making any meaningful progress to making meaningful progress in the things that are important to you. And when you're doing that, you're not going to feel like you don't have enough time, because you do. You're making progress in the things that matter to you, so you have enough time. So by cutting out the non-essential in your life, you should be able to bring a lot more time into school and studies and the things that actually matter to you. But we can take this one step further. We can apply the essentialist thinking to the work itself in order to see what work is actually most essential in getting you towards your goal. You can see here, there's a lot of places where your energy can go during your work. You could be reading the textbook, you could be reading your notes, rewriting your notes, you're doing practice problems, practice exams, maybe you have extracurriculars. And so there's a lot of places that your studying can go. There's a lot of places that your energy can go when you're studying. But like we talked about earlier, if your energy is dispersed over all of these things, you're probably going to not make meaningful progress in any of them. And so you might think, okay, let's draw that red circle again. And now we just put all of our energy into one or two things, and there we go. We're going to get to the level of satisfaction, and we're going to be doing well in school. But unfortunately, that's not the case here, because not all studying is equal. You can read the textbook as many times as you want, but each reading of the textbook gives you the tiniest little arrow towards your goal. And so if you really want to do well on a test just by reading the textbook, you are going to need to read that textbook for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, and the entire course will be over before you can perfect an exam just by reading the textbook. So not all activities are equal. So for example, if you do practice problems, well, these arrows are pretty big. They are going to help you a lot when you're studying. If you're doing practice exams, these things are huge. These are the number one things you can do when you're studying to get you to the line of satisfaction, or in this case, it's going to be the line of doing well in your class. So not all studying is equal, and this is where the 80-20 rule comes in. So the 80-20 rule is basically that 20% of actions gets you 80% of your result. So what does that look like? Let's see. So suppose we have this little area here, okay? And that means 20%. This is just 20% of the action, and look how close it takes us. And that means the other 80% of the things you're doing make up this last little bit, okay? And so 20% gets you all the way here, and this is 80% of your effort. It only gets you this little extra 20% of your results. So this obviously translates really easily to school. It just means that, hey, 20% of the work you do and the effort you put in will get you to an 80% in your course. It's approximate, but let's say that. And the other 80% of the work you do only gets you that last 20%. And I'm telling you right now, if you're in any technical course, this 20% that gets you 80% of the effort comes entirely from practice exams or problems, okay? So you could do like 3 practice exams and a set of practice problems, and you're gonna get 80% of the way there. And that means you've got 80% of the result with 5 times less effort. But here's the important part, because 80% is good, and especially if we're getting 5x less time or less energy for 80% of the result. But if you apply the 80-20 again, meaning you're gonna 80-20 the last 20% of your work, that means 2.5 less energy, but you're getting now 80% of that last 20%, which boosts you up to a 96%. And so this is where you want to sit. You want to be sitting somewhere between these two, because this is what gets you most of the result. And in each case, we're using so much less energy. So let's look at this scenario where we're using 2.5x less energy and getting 96% of the result? Is it going to be worth spending hours and hours doing notes review after this to get that last 4%? No, it's not. The ROI is just not there. You got to think about the energy versus the reward. And so all you got to do when you're trying to study more effectively is figure out, hey, which actions are going to get me the most results? And so if we go back to the original circle here, the original diagram, there's a few things that you can do which is going to get you most of your result. It's not reading the textbook. It's not reading your notes. It's not rewriting notes. It's not extracurriculars. That doesn't really need to be here. It is entirely doing your practice problems and doing practice exams. And that's it. This will get you so far. Notice that these three, textbook, reading notes, and rewriting notes, is all passive. But it's practice problems and it's practice exams that are active, where you're actually going to be learning the material more effectively. If you're in like a more memorization course, it might be flashcards. Flashcards are very effective at learning. You need to be picking the things that have big arrows, like practice problems, practice exams, flashcards, and not wasting your time on things that have small arrows, reading the textbook. Because if each arrow is a little piece of energy, you need so much more energy to get to your result by reading a textbook or by reading your notes or by rewriting notes than by using the bigger arrows, flashcards, practice problems, practice exams. And here's the power in this. Once we know which work tasks are essential and which ones aren't, we can cut out the unessential ones. And now you have more time to put in the other aspects of your life, like relationships, fitness, or whatever it is for you. And that's it. I hope that this mindset can help you spend more time how you want.